Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what's the best example of men not understanding a woman's body that you've ever heard? Many years ago I dated a guy who thought women's periods came on the first of the month like rent. NGL, that would be nice, that way we could plan around it. Hi. I'd like to call my period lord. I completely understand that it is due on the first of the month, but I have a crazy busy week until the 7th. Could I possibly do it then? Yes, I understand I would be required to have an extra day. A co-worker who got drunk at a work event and started complaining that his arranged marriage wife must be cheating on him because she was now wet and receptive to his advances instead of avoiding him because it hurt. Poor woman. So he's saying the sex sucks now because it doesn't feel like rape. He seemed to be saying that he believed her arousal was proof she was having good sex elsewhere. Once had a man tell me that I wasn't a virgin because I used tampons. My mom asked how I was using tampons if I was a virgin when I was 14. She didn't know you could do that. At least you didn't have a 16-year-old girl tell you she'd never wear a tampon, because how do you pee? This poor girl genuinely thought we were out here peeing out our vaginas and either holding our pee or changing our tampons every time. My mom told me that too. I remember my first time using tampons at my aunt's house, around 14. I asked to use the bathroom and pulled a tampon from my bag. I got this horrified look from her, but she didn't say anything. I came back to the living room to her and my uncle asking me all about my sex life. Neither one of them knew. And she said, "Your cousin said only girls that have had sex can wear tampons. You're telling me she's lying? You tampon using whore." I won't even lie, that just made me burst out laughing. Thanks for that. I had a man I used to date compare a kink he had to me using tampons. And I quote, "It's like the equivalent of tampons for you." I was like, oh, baby. What is you doy? I actually had to explain to this idiot, who is a decent amount of years older than I am, that tampons do not cause pleasure at all. It was such a weird conversation. I want to know what possible kink was similar to tampons. Did he get really turned on when he put on his undies? Or was he talking about butt plugs? I dated a guy who thought periods lasted a month, tampons were pleasurable to put in, women pee out of their vaginas plus that they can hold in their periods. I think the worst thing though was that he thought he knew better than me how to give me an orgasm. I would tell him his hand was in the wrong place, and he would argue with me about it and move it back to wherever he thought it should be. Our girl, trust me, moves his hand back to your belly button. I wish I knew his thought process. Mostly he would go for the urethra. He claimed he was very good in bed because he had looked up diagrams. I think the worst thing though was that he thought he knew better than me how to give me an orgasm. I would tell him his hand was in the wrong place, and he would argue with me about it and move it back to wherever he thought it should be. Oh hey, we dated the same guy. He'd convinced himself that he was a legend in bed and that his technique was flawless. No amount of feedback from his real-life girlfriend would convince him otherwise. He was shocked when I dumped him. Haha, when I dumped him he assumed I wanted to continue sleeping with him since he was so good at it. He was genuinely shocked when I told him I didn't want to do that. I've been told to hold in my period by a guy I know. He then proceeded to explain to me, a female, how menstruation works, and that I could simply hold it in like piss. Bro. I was dumbfounded. How are people so fucky stupid, dude? Wouldn't that be awesome? We would just hold it in, and let it out all at once and be done with it. Haha, hang on, I gotta go menstruate real quick. Goes in bathroom, locks door. Intense straining and gushing noises. Comes back out. Okay, better. A male family member thought that tampons eliminated cramps because if nothing was coming out, how could there be cramps? Has he never had a cramp before? Like from exercise or something? Dudes get cramps too and they don't leak blood when it happens. WTF. I'll never forget, in high school a teacher overheard one kid telling another that there are two holes in a pussy and he always uses the other one cause it's so much tighter, and she laughed and explained that if he can get his penis in a girl's urethra then it must be smaller and skinnier than a toothpick. I'm no sounding expert, but a toothpick is a bit of a stretch, no pun intended. Clearly you've never had your urethra swabbed. The absolute total insistence of this guy from college, who fully believed and argued with dozens of women publicly that having a dick or a dildo long enough to hit a woman's cervix is the only way to make a woman come. A woman training to be an OBGYN pointed out that many women actually are in a good amount of pain from pap smears which contacts the cervix, and it's usually sensitive for a couple days after because it's the exact opposite of pleasurable. Nope, he said she doesn't know what she's talking about. A year later he couldn't figure out why no one would date him. A friend of mine once ended up in the ER with horrible cramping spasms after being jabbed in the cervix during sex. The one where the guy thought virgins don't have vaginas, it's his responsibility as her first sexual partner to make the hole. I'm not a Capri Sun, thank you very much. Kid in my class thought women had two holes and they peed and pooped from the same one. I think he means birds. I too sometimes confuse human females with birds. Ah, that makes sense. We do call them chicks and birds. My ex-boyfriend told me he wanted to lick my aorta during phone sex. He was referencing my breasts. Edit, yes, specifically he meant areolar mayo. Edit #2, aorta was not a typo. That's literally what he said, lol. When I tried to correct it, I meant he was referring to the areola and not just the breasts. Licking someone's aorta during sex is pretty violent. No, it's alright, the hole in my chest is a feature not a bug. Recently saw a TikTok comment from a guy saying women can only get pregnant on their periods. Came here to say the same thing. I knew a guy that thought women only got pregnant while on their period. He had a lot of kids, and said he wouldn't have sex with a woman while on her period, so the comment made him sound more dumb. Men who think we get turned on by inserting tampons. Not tampons, but doesn't breastfeeding turn you on? Isn't that weird? Better tell those guys, does peeing turn you on? My great aunt said if a woman uses a tampon, she'll do anything. Suggesting that women who used tampons would sleep around. She said this on more than one occasion, and was quite a prude. She was born in the 1920s and was a minister's daughter. She had a different mindset for sure. It's common knowledge that tampons are a gateway to criminal behavior. My father told me when I was starting to get my period and complaining about it that if I wanted to stop bleeding I should just exercise more, because he knew a young woman who exercised a lot and her period went away. This is technically true because once you get dangerously underweight your body will stop ovulating, but why the fuck are you encouraging that? Please do your research. Edit, at the time I was swimming about 15 plus hours /WK for a club team. I really don't think I needed more exercise. My dad had no idea that women's periods didn't happen like clockwork. How could you not know you were pregnant? Well Dad, some women don't get a period, some women have irregular periods, and some women get a period during pregnancy. He was flawed. With the recent eruption of the abortion debate, this sentiment is all over Reddit. We need better sex ed in schools. I thought I got pretty good sex ed in my school. And it was, but the problem was, they split the class into boys and girls and the lessons were tailored to each. This whole thread shows that maybe it's kind of important that boys be taught about the female reproductive system too. And vice versa. A local chiropractor made glue / lipstick for women's vaginas, for their period, so they could be free from tampons. His idea was to literally glue your pussy shut and the glue would supposedly wash away with urine. https://news/local/article/134119134.html. Edit, sorry about the weird link, I'm new to Reddit and putting in links, I apologize. Yes, I am a man and you as a woman should have come up with a better solution than diapers and plugs, but you didn't. Read a comment from the now unavailable Meze Facebook account. Reason being, women are focused on and distracted by your period 25% of the time, making them far less productive than they could be. Okay. Oh damn, so he's like, really dumb. This is why people think chiropractors are quacks. They're also not doctors and it's a whole scam. That politician that said if a woman gets pregnant after a rape, their body will have a way of flushing the whole thing out. Edit, I misquoted him. The actual quote is somehow worse. Here to discuss the issue of abortion are 3 men in boaties. Edit, damn typos. Have women's rights gone too far? I saw a preacher on TV, can't remember his name. He implied that a woman getting pregnant from a rape is like a flower growing from a seed. The baby is an unexpected blessing, making the rape worth it. Aside from that being a horrible thing to say, it doesn't make sense. People deliberately plant flower seeds to make flowers grow. Wonder what he'd say if it was his wife or daughter that got raped. Though I wouldn't be surprised if he was cold enough to feel indifferent. There's so many politicians, specifically Republicans, who have said disgusting things about rape. Like rape is kinda like the weather. If it's inevitable, relax and enjoy it. And rape victims should make the best of a bad situation. And even when like begins at the horrible situation of rape, it is something that God intended to happen. And last but certainly not least, if a woman has the right to an abortion, why shouldn't a man be free to use his superior strength to force himself on a woman? At least the rapist's pursuit of sexual freedom doesn't result in anyone's death. Don't forget the judges that let rapists off because a conviction would be detrimental to their future. What the actual fuck? Name some names with these quotes, bring them out from under the rocks where they're hiding.